When you look back at this group in particular, what are going to be your memories of this group of EKGs?
Well, you mentioned the portal. You mentioned guys, with different journeys to get to the same destination. I think it's going to be kind of different from here on out as far as your in senior class walking off the field for the last time. Gone are the days, 15 years ago where you bring 25 in and if 16 or 18 stay, I mean, that's a huge victory. There's no portal. There's no, transferring. There's no, those guys came in together. They all kind of came in as one and leave as mostly one. It is kind of a different type of special because some guys played at 4-year schools. Some guys will at some point have played at 2-year schools and then come to our schools at 4-year school and end up blending themselves with guys that came here out of high school. So it's a small in number class in terms of his exhausted eligibility. Some guys will move on for various reasons outside of those guys that walk on Saturday. But it's always special. It's always tearful, and it's tearful because those guys mean a lot whether they're here for 6 months or 6 years. They put a lot of time, effort, and energy into the program that we're continuing to build back to where it once was. And they joined us for various reasons, but a lot of it was because of the guys in that locker room. So they get to leave with those guys they came in with, a lot of them, or join forces with that they trusted when they got here and met. And it's a special blend, even though it's a small number of guys.
And even though you guys aren't going to the playoffs, what does it mean to you specifically to send these guys off with a win on Saturday?
Always expect to win, always prepare to win, always intend to win, especially when you're at home. We got a chance to go 4-1 on the red this year, and that's one of the pieces the captains talked about from the entire offseason, protecting the red. So we had a chance to win 80% of our games at home. That gives you more than a chance if you take care of some things on the road and kind of put those two things together. We didn't do that on the road this year, but we held serve at home up to this point. We're 3-1, and our intention of preparation is to be 4-1 on senior day. And it's even more special when your last game of the season, not the season we anticipated, but is on the red. You are home, and you get to play in front of your home fans and your family, and they get to enjoy the last game on the red as opposed to the third to last game sometimes where it's senior day, but it's really senior day at home and there's more games to be played. So it always falls short of our standard to get that +1 or more in the postseason. It's been 2 years in a row, and we're not excited about that, but we're way further along than we were this time last year with a ton of room to grow. And we're going to have to do that through obviously our recruiting in the off season. But I want to shed the light on these seniors and these guys that are playing the game. A lot of them for the last time ever in their career. They've been playing since 4, 5, 6 years old. It's just different, and the moment doesn't really hit you until that moment is gone, which is going to be about 4 o'clock on Saturday. And knowing that you're never going to strap a helmet up again is something you'll always remember, and you got to cherish those memories while you're in them. So excited for this group, and excited to be part of a win on Saturday with the preparation we intend to have.
Do players, you've gone through this. You went through this as a player. Do players need help from coaches to get through this week so they can prepare like they want to with all of the noise or distractions of it being the last game around them?
I would probably lend myself to answer the fact that the help is probably best from their peers rather than their coaches. At this day and age, the 40-somethings talking to the 18-somethings, back when you wore leather helmets or the single bar face mask. It probably provides a little bit of perspective from guys that either played with it or no longer playing here to reach out to how was it, how is it, and every experience is its own experience. But I think it probably means a little bit more coming from their locker room buddy rather than their coach, because our experiences are different. They happen at different times. They get to experience these things and for the whole world now. Where 25 years ago, the whole world was 4,500 people in Woodward Stadium, not Roos Field. And so it's a special time, but I think they lean on each other more than anything. It's always the week leading up to. It's not right before the game. It's kind of the last Monday. Now it becomes the last Tuesday. Then it becomes the last Wednesday. It's kind of the last of the last each day up to the point of Saturday, and they'll remember this one forever and ever, no matter what the outcome is. You always do remember usually your first one and your last one, and so you can kind of look back at some point and enjoy it and tell stories about it. But it's a finality for a lot of those guys in the locker room, and it's a good chance for them to make the world a better place outside of the game of football.
I'm not sure this holds true every year, but can this game be tough to prepare for because of all of the thoughts of, Darian was talking about, hey, it's my last Tuesday practice. I mean, that kind of stuff. Can this game be hard to prepare for because of all those things?
I think it can, but I think it could funnel the focus too a little bit, knowing that it is your last. If you know it's your last, hopefully you cherish it that much more. In most cases, not all cases, but if you know that that's kind of the finality, why wouldn't you lean in a little bit deeper, a little bit longer, a little bit further? It is, and I'm sure they spend a little bit more time in the locker room afterwards, taking off their pads and rehashing stories and stuff. It's always going to be that way every year. Just fast forward to next year and the year after. The uncertainty of or the certainty of knowing this is your last game at home is certainly different than having a game to maybe position yourself for the playoffs. But there's still the last game at home for sure in any case. And it's an interesting take because I've asked guys, and the same thing, those guys that played in 18. Is it harder to not know that your season is done, or is it easier to know that your season is done? And we all agree playing the playoffs with a screeching halt, losing the playoffs is probably what you want to do, but it's maybe even harder because it ends when you expected it to continue. So everybody handles it differently. Everybody will go into this game differently. But I think there's some challenges, but I think there's some narrow focus too because it is the last game for a few select guys on this team. Blake
said that. He said, I'm going to make sure that I take more of this in and linger longer on the field and in the locker room. So it's interesting that you said that.
It's just different, and it always, every one of them probably come up and say it went so fast, it goes by so fast, and it does. And a guy like him, he's grown up a ton. Darren Sampson's grown up a ton from the first time they got on campus, and just to be part of their journey, I say it every year, and I mean it every year, is special. To see them so many more days than them, playing on Saturdays, to see the growth as individuals and sons and brothers and family members and teammates. It's something they don't keep scoring, and that's fine because those are the special moments we get to take with us as coaches as they go on and create kind of life after football for them.
Coach, you talked a little bit about their life after football and the people they'll be in the community and that kind of thing. And as you reflect on how this is one of the last groups that was here pre-COVID and post-COVID, can you talk a little bit about sort of the legacy and the resiliency they've had in being good ambassadors for this program and who they'll be in the world?
Yeah, it's a forced measure, right? It wasn't something that there's a handbook for a pandemic. Much like being a parent, all of a sudden everybody tells you what something's like, and there's less of a handbook for obviously a pandemic. So some of those guys, their lives, their world came to a screeching halt right at that point, and everybody kind of looked at everybody, like not just football teams or athletic departments or students. Everybody kind of looked at what are we going to do next? And sometimes there was no answer. We were waiting for the answer to be handed down to then relay the answer, to those guys. So in a lot of ways, there was a ton of resiliency. There was a ton of curiosity, and I think they wanted, because we're, kind of creatures of habit in sport. All of a sudden now that habit or that structure is gone, and no one knows exactly what we can do, what the parameters we can have. They were very fluid. They were very mentally fluid. The mental agility was the biggest push in that year-long span. That we're gonna be taxed mentally in different ways than we ever have, and probably ever will again, with the parameters that set the uncertainty. But some of that stuff was good. Some of that was kind of figured out yourself a little bit and kind of find hours of the day to do some things and stay busy with some things. But you were kind of relegated to certain areas and certain things that you could do. So some of these guys were pre-COVID, then were part of COVID, and now they're post-COVID. I did think, like most people, probably rocked their world a little bit, but everybody handled it differently. They're better off for it, even though it was tough during it. But we had a lot of memories in that span to be able to be not just successful football players, but also successful people. And there's a ton of memories prior to that coming out of they'll never forget that spring season, starting camp January 29th, first game in the middle of February. it was just madness thinking that there were so many things that went on during that winter. You had a camp, a fall camp in the middle of winter. But they were so excited to do what they love to do, and that's why it makes this game so much more kind of challenging, because now they were in the midst of a pandemic playing a game they love. Now all of a sudden the game they love is now, for some of these guys, the end of the road for the game they love. And so ton of appreciation, respect for those guys. They did it. There's nothing to compare it to because no one's ever done it, but they held their heads high. And they didn't flinch along the way, and that's kind of how we try to build things, from the onset. And they were dealt a blow, and they handled the blow well, and they'll be better off for it and their families and friends and the circles that they're part of life after Cheney.
Are you a good hugger? Because both guys were here before. You said you are.
I'm a toucher. I am, Dennis, and I that's how I express my feelings, my gratitude. Whether it's my kids at home or these kids that we get to spend an inordinate amount of time with. I love these guys from the bottom of my heart, and it's not that's not coach speak. It's not coach speak. It's tough, and every year you guys ask me, is it tougher for them, tougher for me? Depends on how you look at it. It's really tough for me when you give everything you got, results aside, and you give everything you got, knowing that they're going to be hopefully better than them when they came in, then I think you've done and been part of the special journey that they were on. And they believed in you when they came here. So in retrospect, in return, they trusted you. So hopefully we earn the trust of those kids, as their journey on campus ends this Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.